we know about Carla yet?
Yeah, so Carla did select bits of the practice yesterday. Got through a good amount, and then she's gonna come in, do her pregame shooting time, and then go from there. But think a reasonable chance.
So game time decision, but you think there's a chance she goes?
If not Carla, is that Bea that's going to start?
Yeah, I think we've got a lot of trust in Taya, and then I think Holly's capable of playing the one at times too. So yeah.
You said after the last game that it was really the first time you had to go in the locker room and kind of get on them. How did you see the players respond to that in the last couple of days of practice?
Yeah, so firstly I wouldn't say, I'd be very careful with the term get on them, because that's kind of not my philosophy. It's holding the team accountable to high standards, but you can do that without being yelling, screaming, berating, and it was collectively as a group. And I actually had BC speak. I gave the team kind of my spiel in terms of I didn't feel like we were connected, and I think in all the games we've seen so far in the season, to that point we've really played with a great sense of togetherness. And I felt there was there was a stretch for about 4 minutes in the third where we didn't see that. So that was kind of the messaging after that game, and the whole group agreed. And BC, that's the type of culture we want when our leaders will then speak. And I think it's far more powerful when it comes player on player, and then we're supporting that as a coaching staff. So we had a great 2 days of practice after, and obviously excited to go into tonight.
Where have you been putting your attention in these last 2 days of practice?
Yeah, great question. So we had a kind of a mini deep dive just after that first stretch of games. So kind of every 10 games or so, I'm using it as an opportunity to really look at what we need to emphasize into the next stretch of games. So we kind of centered upon 3 main themes. The first one is our pace. So surprisingly, we've been bottom 2 in the league in a bunch of pace metrics in terms of time for the ball to cross half court, initiating our first action, and then just all-round pace categories in general. So that is important for us. I think just with the way we kind of emphasizing our the way the team is built, I think we can improve our offense a lot more if we're not playing in the half court so much. I think a lot of times we've just been kind of jogging, walking it up, and then calling, our actions and starting them too late on the clock. So that was a big emphasis, and saw some really good things in those 2 days. Second thing has just been our turnovers. So looking at I never want to say kind of take care of the ball. I want to be specific, looking at the areas where we're turning it over, and then looking at the practical solutions for how we can mitigate those. So I think one kind of whole area, we call it orange. So our kind of offense, it's green, yellow, red, orange based on the speed of how we arrive and what we're looking for. And the orange, it's like a stoplight. It's, we've run our first action. How can we then re-trigger in a known shape with the players we want in that next action? So I think that will really tidy things up. I think a lot of turnovers are coming from too much randomness in the orange stage of the offense. And then just pick and roll stuff, some important details in terms of timing of when we're coming off, always trying to set it up and attempt the reject. And then what we're looking for in terms of pockets or kickouts and coaching those decisions. And then the last thing was our defensive rebounding, which will be really important tonight. So it's kind of those 3 keys we're going to have as a steady focus through this next stretch of games.
You guys did a great job pretty much on all 3 occasions against Stewie. What unique challenges does playing against a player like Asia present, and how do you plan to attack that compared to, say, someone like Stewie?
Yeah, absolutely, Trista. So I think it's kind of this metaphor of winning your spot, and that's what we've got to be very intentional with in terms of how we win our spot to prevent the catches in the danger areas which we're trying to mitigate and avoid. So and that just, it's not always defending with one player or relying on one matchup. It's kind of what we saw in those New York games against Drew. I think the team defense was really, really effective, and we saw great help. Like our positioning of the last was really effective, and we got a lot of stops from that. So I think it's a similar thing tonight in terms of how we defend with all five and make sure we're anticipating each other and being in the right spots accordingly.
Just piggybacking off of that, and you talk about the help side in the last, I know Emily's been a huge part of that, even if she's not matched up with the star player, but she's typically always the one getting the blocks, sort of being that anchor. How valuable has she been just being in that specific position, help side?
Yeah, absolutely, Asia. So I think that's kind of M's role has been so effective. We're in this team scheme where we're, selectively choosing who we can help off of more. And that's kind of the whole philosophy, I think, of modern defense, where offenses have got so good in the modern age, players have got so good that there's always something you're going to give up. I think it's just unrealistic to go into games thinking that you can neutralize everything. I don't look at modern defenses like that. I think, where the game is going, where offense is going in the future is it's a give and take. So that's where we're taking at times calculated risks, and that's a lot of the schemes we've been using with M when we are helping off select players. It's similar to the New York game. In the first game, it was Astier, and I think you have to make those decisions at times to stop greater threats, and you just got to pick your poison accordingly.